By Sagicor Life is
7 o'clock.
Coming up in the news at 7, mother in custody after 8-year-old dies in fire. MOU signed for gluten-free flour production in Clarendon. And Harborview residents call out for help. While in sports, Kingston Cricket Club wins first Senior Cup title for 23 years. Kingston, Jamaica, this is CVM News at 7, the weekend edition. It's Sunday, April 28, 2024. I'm TK Dawkins. Thanks so much for joining us. We begin the newscast on a somber note this evening. A mother is in police custody following the tragic death of her 8-year-old son who perished in a fire on Friday night. CVM News understands the child was locked in and left alone. Residents are now pointing fingers at the mother, alleging she struggles with mental health challenges. Celine Campbell shares the story.
The mother of the 8-year-old, whose charred remains were found beneath the rubble of his Westmoreland home sometime after midnight on Friday, has been taken into custody. Jamil Richardson, a grade 3 student at the Peggy Barry All-Age School, who resided with his mom in Top Lincoln Grange Hill, was reportedly home alone when the house caught fire. When CVM News visited the scene, we learned the 29-year-old mother had just been released from hospital a few days prior.
It's a good girl. You usually work at hotel and things, but I don't know if you lose any work and things, you understand? But you know, really walk out and then really, you stay. But he get sick out. And around 3 days, you know, he come back from hospital. You understand? And that happened. Since he come out and he getting medication, she burn it up. And say no mad. And she did the hospital. Pick up with so the time them have him down a station, you know, take her to the hospital.
The father of young Richardson, who refused to speak on camera, recalls the day his child's mother was initially taken to the hospital for displaying what he describes as unusual behaviors.
It's somebody in the yard and now one hour his mother hold her. And she run come over, she bring her line out and phone inside. She run come over there and come hang on for me. And me have to tire. Put her in a car. Who leave me in the hospital? It's a man can't borrow. Who I don't need.
Member of Parliament for Westmoreland Western, Moreland Wilson, extended condolences to the family.
The initial reports are truly disturbing. I just want to start by saying that sincere condolences to the family and friend of Jamil, the young man, 8 years old from what I heard, that lost his life in this tragic incident. And from all accounts, it seems that his mother has some mental health issues, and for more persons to come forward and to speak to the police.
When the fire department arrived on the scene, it was already too late to rescue anyone or salvage anything. Richardson's body was found during the cooling down operation. Celine Campbell for CVM News.
Residents of Harborview in eastern Kingston are looking for someone to champion their cause for what they say are a number of pressing concerns of the community that have been met with a lack of a clear plan of action from the agencies responsible. Joel Crosskill shares this report.
Frustration now festers at Kingston's eastern entrance as President of the Harborview Citizens Association Sandra Hall elaborated on the difficulties being faced by residents as they seek redress for a number of infrastructural issues impacting the space.
We have been reaching out to the NWA, we have had public defender trying to help us. We're not getting anywhere with it. We have reached out, written letters to the PM. We have been asking for this to be tabled in Parliament. We are not getting any response as to where it stands. Nobody's coming back to us to say, this is what is going to be done, this is the plan. There's no plan as far as we're concerned because nobody's telling us of a plan. There must be a body that we can go to and say, this is happening in the community, can you deal with it for us? We keep writing letters and nothing is being done. Where do do we go?
The plea was directed towards Leader of the Opposition Mark Golding, who, having been invited by caretaker Patrick Peterkin, witnessed their plight in person during a recent tour that included the Harborview sewage treatment facility that was rebuilt in 2015.
Quite a frightening experience, I must tell you, to see such an important facility that provides the sewage treatment for a large community that's really not functioning. I don't know if it's functioning at zero or just close to zero, but it's pretty close to zero if it's not zero. And as a result, we have largely untreated sewage being fed into the sea, and that's a problem.
An issue of even greater concern to residents of Harbour Drive and Southern Cross Drive, as homeowners told Mr. Golding that a gully that was dug by the NWC in 2015 now poses a clear and present danger to their properties, with one long-term resident already forced to relocate.
A gully was cut out of the natural watercourse between the backyards of the residents on either side, going down the hill, and boulders were put there without any kind of reinforcing arrangement to keep those in place. And in Tutus, water washed away those boulders. There's no evidence of them now. But what has been happening is major erosion of the back boundary walls and indeed going into the actual substructure of the houses themselves along the course of that gully.
The inhabitants of Harborview, despite experiencing the drought conditions that have afflicted the majority of the island, now live in fear that the return of heavy rainfall to the area may result in the loss of their homes. Joel Crossgill, CVM News.
The Ministry of Agriculture is boasting a major project set to take root in Clarendon. The initiative is geared towards producing gluten-free flour. Describing it as a win-win project, Minister of Agriculture Floyd Green says it clearly aligns with the priorities of the ministry, including the agendas for food security, agribusiness development, climate-smart realities, and the expansion of exports. The project is being undertaken by the ministry along with Sugar Company Holdings Jamaica and the University of the West Indies, UWI Sadeco. Here is Celine Campbell with this development.
The Sugar Company of Jamaica SCJ Holdings Limited is leasing approximately 725 acres of land to the Jamaica Flour Mills and the International Research Charity Unit at the University of the West Indies, UWI Sadeco. The lands will be leased in Raymond's Clarendon for the purpose of cultivating staple crops, to include breadfruit, roots, and tubers, used by Jamaica flour mills to produce gluten-free flour.
I think Jamaica has to take the lead, as we are now doing, being that forward-thinking, adaptable nation, to change to ensure that not only are we producing gluten-free flour, but we are, as has been said by Mr. Nemad, we are using our local items to produce the gluten-free flour that the world is demanding.
An additional 20 acres will be reserved to establish a well-needed processing plant. Agricultural Minister Floyd Green announced that the project will be implemented in phases and promises to be a benefit for all.
Of course, it will provide employment for community members, but it will also look to address some of the deep-rooted socio-economic challenges that are being faced, whether those are related to health, whether those are related to education. It will really help us to move that Clarendon belt forward.
The UWI Sadeco and the SCJ agree it's a unique partnership and a project that is well positioned for success once there's continued investment.
It is an exciting project of which we are glad to be part. This is a non-profit arrangement. Non-profit in the sense that no dividend will be declared to the shareholders. The money must stay in the project. We reinvest in the project, and any surplus we reinvest in the people of South Clarendon.
In this particular instance, we are set up specifically to service the community and the parish. But also, this project, and I'm going to say just a few words about it, requires ongoing investment if it is going to survive.
A memorandum of understanding was signed by all three organizations, sealing the deal. Celine Campbell for CVM News.
Jamaica's farmwork program has improved the lives of many and is set to continue doing so as the program looks to expand its horizons to include more Jamaicans. One challenge it is, however, facing is citizens who remain in the destination countries illegally. Trisha Kelly files this report.
Thousands of Jamaicans benefit from the Ministry of Labour and Social Security's farmwork program each year. With the ministry's hope to extend the program's offers, an influx of more citizens is anticipated. Most of them already farmers are seeking a better life for themselves and their families. After being interviewed on Friday over in Westmoreland, some remain optimistic as they await a call back.
It's going good. The interview goes so good. Some of us are waiting for them now to give me the next. Go ahead. I didn't grow up with a lot of things there. So I just don't want to make that same choice for my kids. So I want to make something better for them. So I'm here to do that now.
Though the numbers increase annually, not all applicants are successful. However, all hope is not lost, as there are provisions for some of those left behind where the ministry steps in to assist.
A few of them are underage, which is to show that persons are farming from a very tender age. A few others, they are overage, so those will not be eligible for. We have given them information about what support they can get through the Office of the Member of Parliament, where we support farmers with black tanks, seedlings, fertilizers, and small tools.
A challenge lies, however, with successful candidates who illegally extend their stay. The government is now fighting a hard battle with those who run off, as many Jamaicans call it. The trend is even more common on the program. Earlier this year, Minister of Labour and Social Security Pernell Charles Jr. mentioned the impact such acts have on the country's credibility.
Gone. I'm talking about getting out of the plane and not even reaching the farm. When we have our Jamaican workers go on the program and run off, or the attitude or the conduct, it closes the door for hundreds.
The ministry's standard waiting time for feedback after submission of names is a month or less. Trisha Kelly, CVM News.
April 26 is celebrated globally as Intellectual Property Day. Here on the local scene, authorities have been clamping down on counterfeit goods saturating the market. One key stakeholder reports that over $3 billion worth of goods have already been seized and will soon be destroyed. Natalia Clark has the details.
Celebrating 4 consecutive years since being off the United States Trade Representative USTR watch list, the Jamaica Constabulary Force has recommitted to sustaining efforts to rid the streets of counterfeit goods.
We weren't signaling to the international community that we were, bent on protecting and enforcing IPR. So we did that. We passed a new patent legislation. The work that JIPO has been doing and continues to do, the work that we are doing at the JCF CTALK. So holistically, coming together, Jamaica signal to our international partners that we are steadfast on protecting intellectual property rights. And as a result, 4 years now, we have been off the watch list.
That's Deputy Superintendent of Police Victor Barrett, who serves as head of the Intellectual Property Unit. He says over $3 billion worth of goods, to include apparel, electrical parts, and pharmaceutical, have been seized post-COVID. But a popular question is, why are they destroyed instead of given to the less fortunate?
The goods are inferior, right? And not because you're in a children's home or you're poor, it simply means that we must give you inferior goods. It doesn't make sense. As a society, we cannot continue along those lines. So the goods are bad. They have inferior chemicals. Some of the goods are not conducive for human health, right? We're in a tropical climate and with the heat, so you put on a shoes or a jersey and you sweat, you go in your pore, you don't know.
DSP Barrett explains there is still further to go to truly dent counterfeit operations in Jamaica, adding, with a sustained public education, it's not a far-fetched goal.
Our goal is to educate our society.
Okay.
So once you educate your society on the ills of counterfeiting, because it's harmful for your health, it flows into organized crime, it robs the country of needed revenue. So once we understand and educate our people along those lines, then in my mind, I think we will reduce the appetite for counterfeit goods, and in doing that, then it will be a decline.
Natalia Clark, CVM News.
CVM News at 7 continues after the break.
Health, Home and Garden Expo in association with HAG Studios returns with excitement to the National Arena, May 4 and 5, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. See the fabulous displays, attend health talks, decorating and gardening workshops, do health checks, children and artist villages, shopping, live entertainment each day, lots of prizes and giveaways, adults 1,200, children 500, Health, Home and Garden Expo 2024. Don't miss it.
Recycling partners of Jamaica. Yeah, we got to make a change, and we have to do it now, can't wait for later. We put plastic in its place, and we all can agree that will be safer than in the gullies and in the drains. Recycling partners of Jamaica. We put plastic in its place, yeah, the place have to clean. PET, the top of the ethylene, HDPE, buckle up against screen. Baby to granny, everybody roping. Yeah, we got to go green, you know what I mean. See the sign from the bin, if we drop it in through car window, you fling, that another thing. And we don't want no garbage in this game. No, we are the little bug, them are not the same. So listen up, Jamaica, I'm saying it's time to make a change. Recycling partners of Jamaica. We put plastic in its place, and we all can agree that will be safer than in the gullies in the every rains. Recycling partners of Jamaica. We put plastic in its place.
Welcome back. On Small Bay's Big Dreams this week, we track the entrepreneurial feat of a vibrant student who grew up in the breadbasket parish of St. Elizabeth and decided that the world is her oyster.
In the bustling streets of Kingston, Jamaica, amid the vibrant atmosphere of Caribbean Maritime University, a young and determined student named Celine Moss-Strong is making waves with her innovative startup, a gift packaging business that has captured the hearts of many. Her journey into entrepreneurship began during her summer work and travel program, where she realized that the income she earned was simply not enough.
I went on work and travel for 3 years. The second year, I did make, quite amount of money. So I decided, instead of depending on my parents full time, I'm going to start a little business, see how far it can get me.
Armed with a vision to make people happy through beautifully curated gifts, Selena embarked on her entrepreneurial journey.
In real terms, I started my business with 2,500 USD. That's basically including packaging items, the products. I started with wallets, purses, perfumes, you can name it. I started with all of those. And I started out using a specific packaging, but after a while I realized it wasn't really profitable, so I had to switch to normal packaging that other businesses use.
She decided to work closely with local suppliers for the gift items, finding that it was not only cost effective, but also helped support small businesses in her community.
You have to always find the most reasonable suppliers. Seeing that I started with stuff from overseas, I did not, I would say after a while, I had to get supplies from Jamaica because some of the items, they wouldn't be profitable if I shipped them from overseas, had to pay the courier services, etc.
Despite the challenges of rising costs, Selena remains committed to keeping her prices affordable for her customers.
When I just started up, I could sell my products at a lower cost because stuff weren't that expensive, but over time stuff got more, expensive, packaging price went up, and I don't really want to hike the prices for my customers. I want to be reasonable as possible.
She acknowledges the difficulties of running a small business, especially when faced with customers who do not adhere to her policies.
Some will be like, oh, they want this product or they want this service, but at the same time, when I tell them, okay, there's a deposit, I have policies, they don't want to work with my policies, but they would work with higher brands or higher businesses' policies. So I feel like persons don't take small businesses serious. In the case where we have our policies, we have things that you have to work with, but they would want us to sell ourselves short while they're out there supporting other top businesses where they can't ask them to sell themselves short.
Reflecting on her experiences, Selena had this to share.
Starting my business showed me some real life lessons, what life is really about. Life isn't like all sunshines and rainbows. It takes the struggles, the frustration, the pressure. If you can't handle pressure sometimes, it doesn't make sense you're actually living, because life is all about the pressure and the struggle, because you can't just snap your finger and say, okay, I want to be this in life, and you be that in life.
Looking towards the future, Selena envisions opening a physical storefront for her business and expanding into other creative arrangements to cater to a wider audience.
Before 2024 finish, I would like to improve on my services. Like, I would like to expand in floral arrangements, add certain floral arrangements. I would like to add more customization, like items. I would also like to, well, it's not liked, but it's in the process right now to have a personal pre-cut machine, so I don't have to depend on a third party to do my customizations.
And now to regional and international news.
We begin with news in the region. The government is crafting new legislation to safeguard Guyana from oil spills and liabilities emanating from those disasters. Vice President Dr. Barak Jagdeo said the new law could be in place by mid-year. The Vice President also said the new legislation will fortify the provisions for those liabilities in the existing oil agreements and environmental permits. More from Newsroom Guyana.
There's nothing in the agreements and the current environmental permit that weakens Exxon's obligation to tackle oil spills or to ensure that they provide compensation to people should there be a spill. Further, we are fortifying that with oil spill legislation, which will be passed hopefully before the end of before we go into recess in August. That will further strengthen the government and the regulatory authorities' tools to be able not just to manage a spill, but to enforce liabilities on offending parties, including parties that transport fuel.
Describing crime as a crisis demanding resolute action akin to the COVID-19 pandemic response, St. Lucia's Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre advocated a unified regional public health approach. He urged setting aside political blame and rallying collective efforts to confront escalating violence plaguing the Caribbean. The details from HTS News Force.
The Prime Minister called for a collaborative regional effort to combat crime and violence in the Caribbean. He proposed creating a dedicated body that would report annually to CARICOM leaders.
I believe all Caribbean governments would benefit from a targeted and sustained action research agenda that provides real-time data on trends and dynamics of violent crime.
The strength of a circle of support is proven again in the well-being of a child living with a condition with an outcome that's not positive. With the continuation of the Nikhil Borland story, a boy much smaller than his age. It's time for Inspire Jamaica with Caroline Brown.
Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place if you can.
Last on Inspire Jamaica, Simonette Mackenzie began sharing how in 2019, doctors eventually diagnosed her 9-month-old son, Nikhil Borland, with Fanconi syndrome after he was taken in for bouts of vomiting and diarrhea, as well as drastic weight loss.
They're like, Mommy, where have you been with this child for so long? Because I didn't know what was going on. Today there was right away admission with him. After he was there, they didn't know what was going on as well, so they started doing their tests and stuff like that. At one point I thought I would have lost him based on what was going on, so they were just trying to keep him hydrated, treating for some of the symptoms that they're seeing until they started doing checks. After they found out what was going on with him, it was right into ICU.
It was quite a trying period, as after the 2 to 3 months of being admitted, during which time both his legs were fractured as his bones were so brittle, the now outpatient at the Bustamante Children's Hospital, who had regular appointments while en route to Kingston one early morning, had to be rushed to another hospital instead. The nearest one, it was the Maypen Hospital. It was there she was told he had contracted COVID-19. That period of 2 weeks in isolation, Simonette described as one of mixed fortunes.
So I even lost my hair. Felt I become so stressed. Nobody could visit, and just in a little room by ourselves together. And it was a moment that I cherish also because we get to bond. The bonding, because whenever I'm around, he's so happy. I forgot that child was there and even sick because he was still playing around. It was the nurses, they were so amazed because they were like looking and they were like, no, this child is not sick based on how he was. He was just happy. He was on his tablet. He was eating. He's always eating. He's a little foodie. So he's always eating and stuff like that. So it was just there and he managed to get over that. And after that, I took him back to Bustamante and then he has been doing his follow-ups from ever since.
She's still trying to learn about this syndrome, matching what she reads with the reality.
So the limbs are often they're short, as you can see. His eyes are a little bit different compared to, because usually when I go through his pictures, I often try to capture moments with him as often as I can, and sometimes just sit down and look at the difference, what has changed, what has happened. Only difference I'm seeing was right here, his head, but I don't really see any changes in his face other than his eyes.
You want to walk for me? I want to walk. Yes, come and walk with Grandma. Nice boy. Nice boy. Nice.
It's really Grandma's boy. Yes. Awesome. So his legs are basically healed or he still has issues?
I booked a new appointment to see about the orthopedic specialist. He's still complaining for pain. So you say, Mommy, my knee hurts or my foot hurts. So that's basically it. But he'll move around with support.
And that's where the walker comes in handy, as he tries to be independent, even though Grandma is always there like a cushion. But she said it wasn't always like that.
When he comes home from the hospital, he would come to me same time, but afterward now he find himself around me. And when he feel comfortable and in his mood now, he said, Grandma, doctor took me here so, and doctor took me here so, and he show him head and he show him feet. It's the mercy of God turn this little boy around, because when he take in sometimes and his mother is away like at work and so forth, because she is the one who know everything about his sickness, running up and down and so forth. So when him take in now, I have to call her. If he don't see his grandfather, Grandma, where my daddy? Because he's take his grandfather for his dad. Yes, so we both have a close relationship with him.
Grandpa Mackenzie dedicates time for Nikhil when he's not in the field. And there's no questioning the family bond with Aunt Tara among his favorites. But it's Mom who remains best equipped to deal with the glances and the queries.
Persons are like, Mommy, how do you do this? You're so young. Because I've been doing this from like 21 years old. So it wasn't easy, but he didn't have to be here. That's what I always remind myself. He didn't ask to be here, right? So I try my very best at all time to be there, to be supportive.
Unfortunately, there's no cure for Fanconi, and there's an hospital offer from overseas to intervene in his health care, but that would mean extra cash for a mom who is unemployed.